Team F. We're made up of Adam, Sarah, George, and myself, Fernando, and we are proposing the SESTI Transformer BQA model. SESTI BQA, or Zero-Shot Transformer Visual Question Answer, is, as its name implies, a transformer model for answering questions about images. And the zero-shot part means, in our context, that at least one word in either the question or answer will not have been seen before in the test set. Then we plan to compare our transformer model against the standard CNN LSTM model to evaluate which model does better and by how much. For the dataset, we're using the visual question answering dataset that was created from Cocoa images. Here's an example of the input. There are some answers in a question about the image. For example, where is the child sitting? This one will be a fridge. The other one will be arms. The code for the data loaders is complete. And the zero-shot split is still in progress. We're still deciding how we want to split it. Here is a classic CNN LSTM design. The CNN extracts the features, while the LSTM extracts meaning from the questions. We then perform some fully connected layers along with pointwise operation to classify what the answer is. This is the baseline we're going to perform our comparisons against the transformer. For the image part, for the image part of the transformer, we'll be using a swing transformer. We decided to use this transformer because it's efficient and it's good performance. And for the text part, for the transformer, we'll be using a BERT style transformer. The decoder will take in image features, which function as the key and value, and the text features, which will be the queries. After the decoder, we will pass the feature vector through an MLP head to choose a class, the answer in our case. Here is our updated timeline. The green cells are the things we have finished. The blue means that we're on time, and the late items are in red. As you can all see, we are on time for our project basis and nothing is late. We plan on finishing coding the models in the zero-shot split for the dataset in the following weeks.
Yeah, so is this a project you propose, or this is a different project in the beginning? I don't remember. Did you propose this one initially?
Yeah, so we proposed this on office hours.
Oh, okay.
Last time, yeah,
okay,
and we got confirmation.
Can you go to the beginning? So I don't understand, what is zero-shot? Can you say it again? What do you mean by zero-shot?
So by zero-shot, we're saying that that there are going to be some vocabulary words that will never be seen during testing. So once we go into, training, so only on testing and validation we'll see some specific words for every single question or answer.
This is your definition of the zero-shot?
No, this is what, so we gather information from different papers, and this is what they all agree on. So we just decided that this is what the zero-shot part is going to be for us.
I haven't seen anything like that, so I'm not sure whether this is correct. So you are saying zero-shot visual question answering. So
yeah.
that normally will mean that you train a system, but you are able to, answer the question type which the system hasn't seen before. That's what zero-shot means, the zero example. But
yeah,
here I don't understand. George, go ahead. You can say.
Yeah, so that's what we initially thought, but when we looked more into the paper that we were comparing against, their definition of zero-shot means that during testing there are words that the model has never seen before, and the model tries to predict what those infers what the words mean and tries to still guess the correct answer, or tries to still guess
so
the
words, you
answer.
mean words in the question or words in the answer, or both?
Both.
Or what?
Both. There are words in the question and words in the question that has never seen before.
But why that's a big deal? Because, these transformer, these language models, they work for any word. So I don't see why would one care about that. So what are the papers you are talking about? You have to show me what papers you use.
I'll link it in a sec. Give me a second. Let me find the link.
So, I mean, so far there's not much you guys have done. So it's not just defining a problem. So you are behind. You need to catch up. First is I'm not sure if this problem is clear, and other is, but it is. So you need to, put in more efforts. Okay, so let's go to the next one then.
Okay. So initially we had proposed a way to use Dino alongside Getter for object detection, but instead we've shifted to trying to use Dino on videos. So the goals of our project would be to efficiently get useful features from a video using a self-supervised distillation and train it on downstream tasks to see how it performs. How we're going to do that is we're going to use the Dino training regimen and we're going to modify it to work on videos. So a little bit about Dino originally. They'll take these images and they'll have a student and a teacher network. They'll get different crops of the image. So X2 is going to be a high resolution crop and X1 is a low resolution crop. They pass the high resolutions through the teacher, do some centering and softmax, and then they'll pass the low resolution through the student, and they'll try and match output logics that went through a softmax layer using a cross entropy loss. Now, another feature of Dino is instead of updating the teacher on the loss, they instead use a momentum update using the student weights. So the student and teacher are going to be the same model. Now, how do we modify this for video? Well, first, mainly is the architecture of the student and the teacher. In Dino, their best model is using the vision transformer. Instead, we can experiment with the video vision transformer, video swin, or timesformer. And then those high resolution and low resolution images, they're referred to as global and local views. So like I mentioned, the global views are a higher resolution and the local views are a lower resolution. But for videos, we can instead take this to the temporal dimension. So our global view can have more temporal information and our local view can have less temporal information. One issue with this would be that Dino shows very good results on object segmentation. And so if we take away the resolution changes, then we might lose some of that object segmentation result that Dino shows. So we might want to experiment with using both of these as well. Here's kind of a diagram of what our new video global and local views would look like. So the global view would take frames from this full 32 frame clip. And then we could generate 2 local views from this using the first 16 frames and the last 16 frames. Other than that, we can take most of the other things from Dino and just apply them as is, because the global and local views are the only thing that's inherent to images. And then of course there's the architecture. So the data sets we can use for this would be UCF 101 for action recognition. This is likely what we'll use for our pre-training. We can test it on Kinetic 700, and then we can try our final model on video object segmentation using YouTube VOS, and we can also use Davis 2017. Now, Davis 2017 was used in the original Dino paper, so we can see how we perform against their results for that. As far as what we have so far, we've implemented the original Dino model and training code on an image dataset, and we've managed to get this to run. And we've obtained code for all the different backbones that we intend to use. So the video vision transformer, video swin, and timesformer.
So you implemented, or you just created a code and ran it? Because code is available, right? Or
Yeah,
Dino?
so we got their original code. We were able to set up the environments properly
Okay,
and get
yeah.
it running on Newton.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, we're working on the data loaders for all the data sets and generating those new global and local views. And we're working on different experimentation ideas. So we're going to experiment on these two separate domains as of right now, just action recognition and object segmentation. And we can compare performance with state of the art just based on the downstream tasks. We can analyze the computational performance of our new video dyno model, and we can do a qualitative analysis of the attention maps like they do in the original dyno paper. For ablation studies, I've mentioned several times, we're experimenting with different backbones. Specifically with video vision transformer, we can experiment with using the original dyno weights since they use the vision transformer, and that might help us preserve some of the object segmentation that they get in their paper. We'll be using timesformer and video swin, and then we can also experiment with different tubelet and token sizes for the global and local crops. And we can also vary the spatial patch size. This is our updated timeline for the project. And then we have our references.
Yeah, so since you changed the project, I mean, there's not much you have done, it's just a plan, right? So you guys need to spend more time on doing actually the work. So now it's known that Dyno, they use the very large data set to train, right? What data set do they use to train?
They use ImageNet.
ImageNet, okay. So do you think that using just UCF 101 for training, will that be enough? It may not be actually enough because it's a very small data set. So you can do maybe other way, train on the Connectec, which is a bigger, and then test on UCF 101.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can do. And we'll also experiment with using the vision, like VIT just trained on ImageNet, not using the Dyno method, and then expand that to the video vision transformer. So
second point is that, well, okay, so you will use exactly the way they've used Dyno, just to do video instead of images. I mean, what's the new thing beside this local and global? Because you guys have to come up with something new, right? Which will, be different than what they've done. Now you are saying they already can, do the segmentation. So you will show if you use a video, you can do better or something. You need to think about those questions, right?
Okay. Yeah. That would be the goal, is to see if we can perform better on video object segmentation.
Yeah, and think about that. Well, they use this the way they do knowledge distillation, student teacher, and how they update with their momentum and so on. So you can come up with creative ideas to improve that further, and what video brings in,
Okay.
which is different from images, and use that knowledge. So this will require a lot of work. So I think you guys need to get serious, because otherwise it's just a plan. There's nothing you guys have done actually. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, this is Group H, and we're going to be doing our presentation on using transformers for instance segmentation with low training data. To briefly overview our project once again, because it's been a while, we're going to be running instance segmentation on these cells, as you can see in this image right here. We have a limited amount of data set, hence the low training data, only 50 images. And the main question we want to ask is, will transformers help in the assistance of the accuracy? Because there's already been some testing on training these data with master CNN. To understand the data set a bit more, it is a single scale image, 1 micrometer per pixel. All these objects have a similar size, as you can see from the image clearly. It is a single point of view as if you're viewing it from a microscope. And it is very low resolution, as again, you can probably see. And once again, our objective is to segment the data. In between our last presentation, this one, we actually went and researched quite a few different transformers that regarding image segmentation. So I'm going to list off a few. First of all is efficient instant segmentation paradigm, or EISP, which utilizes a Swin transformer. Then we have the attention-based transformers for instant segmentation of cells, which is kind of a misnaming, I would say, because the purpose of this one is to actually distinguish between cells and what they determine as traps, which are just circles. And this uses both a CNN and transformer encoder and decoder for it. Then finally, we have mask attention mask transform for universal image segmentation, which is a instance panoptic and semantic segmentation all in one. And this uses a CNN backbone, pixel decoder, and transformer decoder with MAC attention. To show why these won't necessarily work the best with our model, I'm going to pass it over to Tristan.
Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen and start the slideshow. Okay, so we reviewed a lot of different methods, especially for instant segmentation with transformers. Most instant segmentations with transformer methods, most papers that evoke it, use a Swin transformer. The problem with the Swin transformer is that it doesn't really relate to our data. So basically, the main thing is that the great thing with a Swin transformer is that it's going to capture long-range dependencies. So basically, I'm looking at one cell here, one detection that I'm trying to do, and it's going to look at a pixel here to try to determine, how I'm going to segment this. This is helpful when when you have a horse and you're trying to see if it's in a field, that will help you. But here, obviously, there's none of that because the only background we have is just darkness. So that's one thing that we don't really need. And then they're usually made for maybe a few objects and a big.
That's a speculation, or you have tried Swin transformer and that's what's happening. But this is just you are just talking.
We're currently we'll talk about this later, but we're currently currently getting data for the Swin transformer as we speak.
Yeah, I think that will make sense. Maybe you can skip this because if you haven't tried, it's just a speculation. Well, it's not going to work. Okay, so what's the next one you have?
So then we're talking about cross and self-attention. How they use global context as well.
Yeah.
So for us, we really want to use only the surrounding regions of the predicted mask to update our crib. So this is the alternative we're looking into. And again, the method we're trying to think about right now will be explained a little later. But just to recap you on the method we're comparing it to, we have that mask RCNN that I and Jacob have done in another class. This is an original image. You have the ground truth of the instance, the objects. And so we get something like this for that image. And if you look at the mask, it gives us something like this. So compared to ground truth, we're still pretty far. And we can see that we actually scored it this week. And we have a mean AP, which is 58%. And then we have, 70% of cells with a minimum of 50% IOU score, which is, it's okay, but cells with a really good precision, like 75%, it's barely 1 out of 10. So
you ran mask RCNN yourself and you got these results, or these are from the paper?
No, the mask RCNN part was entirely done by myself. So there's no paper on it. It's just
okay, good. So that's good to at least you guys. So here you have original image and in the top row, and you have predicted mask. So each cell has a different colors, right? So that's what you have. And what is the bottom row? Because I'm not clear.
Is when here we're viewing the actual image, and this is just showing the masks themselves. And so if you view the masks themselves here, you can see a high density of mask, where here you have a little bit less. So those are it's just the same thing as this, but without the actual image. We're just showing the masks. so that was done with 17 images in training. We're actually running with 50 images right now. We're actually training that. That takes a little bit.
So what that was the model was trained on ImageNet, Pascal CNN. I see. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. And then we're gonna talk about what we're thinking of implementing now, and I'm gonna let Jacob cover that.
All right, so since we're dealing with a low amount of data, the deformable DTR showed more promise than the original DTR at bounding box prediction, just because it's able to converge faster. So since we have lower amount of data, we need convergence to occur as fast as possible. So we're doing a slightly modified deformable DTR. I'll get more into that later, but that will help. That is
yeah. You guys have only 5 minutes, right? So you want to hurry up because okay, go quickly. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Since we have a low resolution images, we have slight modifications that we're going to make to the deformable DTR. The goal is for this to output bounding boxes for our images. Our goal, however, is to get instant segmentation. So we're going to be combining bounding boxes with some binary segmentation, and we're going to be using this to make instant segmentation. We'll go more into depth for the modified deformable DTR now. So the base model for the deformable DTR looks like this. The first modification we're going to make is switch the feature map. So since we have low resolution images, the normal deformable DTR uses stages 3 through 5 of ResNet. We're going to be shifting it to stages 2 through 4. This will give us high resolution images for low level features. Since our cells are only a few pixels wide, we can't just have high level features. The next modification we're making is the object queries. So typically there's only 100 object queries used. However, our images can have over 700 instances. So to account for that, we're expecting to use around 3,000 object queries, but clearly that's going to be a problem when it comes to self-attention in the decoder, as it's quadratic with the number of queries we have. To account for that, we won't be performing self-attention over every object query. For example, if we have an object query here outlined in blue, we are going to be performing self-attention only up to a certain range. So nearby queries we can perform self-attention with, but we're going to be ignoring other queries that are farther away. That's just because the information for this cell, we're not going to find much relevant information way up here. And that should fix the problem of having quadratic runtime with the number of queries. Then once we do that, we'll have output for the bounding box predictions. These are passed in. We then pass this in as the initial input for the decoder of the DTR.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Go to the next slide because I think we are running late. So what's the
let me.
That's pretty much it. Is that yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think this.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last.
Yeah. Okay. I think we can just. You don't have to do that. So this part, what Jacob did was good. So that's what you should have started. Don't waste time talking about why Swin won't work and all this thing, because you are supposed to finish in 5 minutes. So just work on it. So it's interesting that you want to use that the deformable DTR to solve this problem and do some innovations, as Jacob was talking about. Expand that and make a crisp presentation next time what you have done. We don't want to hear all the background. Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
Professor, can
good.
I answer some of your questions?
Yeah. What question?
On the Coke or in training Swin, we've
Yeah.
just to share our progress, we have finished training Swin on the Cocoa 17 dataset.
Yeah.
I still need to check the accuracy of the Swin transformer on the biological cells data.
Yeah.
That's in progress.
Yeah.
And the other thing is first 4 groups that presented went over time as well. So
Yeah.
just,
But see, the main thing is that you guys want to learn, right? Because if you start the way this started, and I want to give you feedback that you can learn how to make a good presentation, right? So right now, it wasn't much, just repeat. So if you had something, what you said, that you are training, Swin, and you are getting that makes sense. But just generality is just a talk. That's not a good idea. So that's
Okay.
my suggestion for you guys.
we will organize it better for the next one.
Okay, yeah. Just be the focus. Say, well, okay, this is what we are going to do, and this is what we have done. Then it shows that you're making progress. Otherwise, it's even though maybe you have done, but I get impression you are just making it up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. So let's go to the next one.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, we are team 9, including me, Mamalijas, and Sanjay, Dane, and Kasum. So our project is the Tiny Action Challenge of the CVPR 2022 workshop. This the data set that UCF provided is very low resolution videos for the action recognition and action detection. And this is especially challenging because the videos are low resolution and there are not so many videos in this data set. So as a recap, there is the data set, and as you see, there's a video. This video is one sample of the data in that data set, and we have two jobs on this data set, which is activity recognition and activity detection. That's which can be done with 2 different heads after the backbone, which is the classification head and the detection head. So what we are doing for this problem is train architecture, which is the conditional GAN-like architecture, but without a generator part. So we have 2 networks, which is a student network and teacher network. The teacher network is for now is a pre-trained swing on a Kinetic 700. So we have a pre-trained swing transformer on a 700 swing video transformer on a Kinetic 700, and we feed it a high resolution video, and it will generate a high resolution in embedding. And then we concatenate the label of the particular video with the high resolution embedding. And for the student, we have to some transformer, for example, swing video transformer or Vivid. And we feed it a low resolution data and we get a low resolution embedding, but these 2 embeddings are the same in size, and we can concatenate the label of the low resolution video with the low res embedding, and we feed it to the discriminator. So the discriminator wants to tell us which one is a high resolution embedding and which one is a low resolution embedding. And the student network is trying to fool the discriminator that classify our low resolution embedding as a high resolution embedding. So that's all we are going to do. And for the progress of this, we actually done the coding part is done, and now is training. We are training this architecture. So the student for the first experiment, we are using a Vivid for the student encoder part. And we are using a pre-trained swing video transformer for the teacher network. And I'm going to hand it to Sanjay for the other parts of the presentation. Sanjay, we cannot hear you.
Maybe you can continue. Mehdi,
Yeah,
why don't you
yeah,
continue?
okay. So for the baseline, we created a vivid architecture for specifically this task on a low resolution data. So we want to see whether or not we have a architecture that will improve actual classification of the low resolution data and with low amount of data. So we trained Vivid on the tiny VR to V2, and the video dimension was 128 to 128 to 100, and the tubelet dimension was 3444. So we have done it with the adaptive sharpness aware minimization. So we wanted to improve the Vivid optimization part a little bit. So we have the best possible to have the best possible results for the Vivid on our data set. So these are our hardware parameters for training the Vivid on our data set, and we get the results of 38% accuracy and 43.9% validation accuracy on the Vivid with vanilla Vivid on the Tiny Action Challenge. So for our future plans, we want to extend the adversarial feature learning network with our baseline network. So we want to actually conduct the abolition study, which have different student networks and different teacher networks, and we want to compare the different teacher and student networks with vanilla methods that we have for these methods in the Tiny Action Challenge, and these are the references.